All right, guys, so now we're going to go into the extra special fun portion of our show. We're going to watch this video right here. Now, I bring up this screen. This is Allie Beth Stuckey's YouTube channel. And I just want you to notice that Allie Beth Stuckey calls herself a friend of Dave Rubin. They may be. I have no idea. I have no idea what their relationship is. They may be BFFs. But when I see a video titled, Why I Can't Congratulate My Friend Dave Rubin, and I see it has 87,000 views, and then I look around at the other uploads and I see 10,000 views, 20,000 views, 13,000 views. Oh, she got 121 there. 6.5 thousand views. Now, I don't really care about like the number of views videos get usually, but I will tell you that content creators like to do things like take advantage of a news cycle in order to get more views and clicks on their content so they can make more money. I find it a little curious that this happens to be one of the better performing videos that Allie Beth Stuckey has had on her channel, probably in the last month, by a significant degree. So I'm sure that Allie Beth Stuckey would never do, because she's a Christian, right? She's a Christian. So she would never do something like take advantage of a friendship in order to make content, to virtue signal to her audience to make money. I'm sure that would never happen. I'm sure that would never happen. You can draw your own conclusions there. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. But let's actually watch the video. Now, I've heard from a lot of people that Allie Beth is just so nice in this video. She just explains her position so well and so nice. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to hear her out. But I'm sorry. I'm going to say this again. With my friends, if my friends are in the news, and occasionally my friends are in the news, some of my friends, not all of them, thankfully. But if my friend is in the news and they are in the news for something that I disagree with, do you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to abuse that friendship by making a video to take advantage of likes and clicks to make money on the internet about my disagreement that I have with my friend. Let me give you an example of this. I know why Adam Krigler got fired off of Timcast IRL. I know emphatically why he got fired off of Timcast IRL. Did you ever see a video about that from me? Do you all think that I wouldn't have made a boat ton of money by making a video about why Adam got fired off of Tim's show? I would have made a metric fuck ton of money on that video. Let's just be honest. I would have made a metric F ton of money off that video. Did you ever see that video? No. You want to know why? Because at the time, I considered Adam a friend. I very easily could have made that video and said, I know why my friend Adam Krigler got fired off of Timcast IRL. And I've never talked about that publicly, contrary to rumors that Lydia wanted to start on the internet. I've never talked about that publicly. Because I don't take advantage of that shit. I have shared it with my local supporters on a couple of occasions on a private Zoom call where I know it's not going to make the rounds publicly. But the thing of it is I only shared that after a year of Lydia and Carrie Smith running around telling people that I was saying it publicly anyway. So I was like, you bitches want to say I'm talking about it publicly? Fine. But when that happened, I could have made a lot of money talking about that story, and I didn't. Why? Because I considered Adam a friend. At that time, not anymore. Anyway, let's get into this video so we can see just how close friends Allie Beth is with Dave Rubin. Let me know, of course, as always, if there is a sound issue. Okay. Oh, no sound? Okay. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, Patrice. Okay. Take two. Take two. I knew I did it wrong. Okay, starting over.
All right, guys. I just wanted to do a quick video to respond to a question that many many of you have been asking me, and that is, what are my thoughts on my colleague Dave Rubin sharing that he is expecting 2 babies with his husband via surrogate? I am a Christian who has been very outspoken about the biblical definition of marriage, as well as my qualms with surrogacy. So this video is for those who have asked in.
So your beliefs, and again, I don't, and guys, let me know if the levels are somewhat reasonable. It sounds a little bit like I'm much louder than her on my end, but sometimes I can't always tell. So my issue here is that, there's nothing wrong with being a Christian and having your beliefs. Having your personal beliefs does not mean you cannot congratulate someone that you consider to be a friend when they have a momentous announcement. Moving on.
Good faith, my perspective. This is not for all of those mean-spirited keyboard warriors who have demanded that I make a statement when and how they want me to. I don't care about them. I care about, as always, trying to add as much clarity to confusion that I possibly can. I have been on Dave's show where I have told him explicitly what I believe and why about marriage and sexuality. I have already talked to Dave privately about this situation, about how while I believe that he and his husband will make great dads, I cannot in good conscience send my congrats. It's hard trying to balance how
I would not be able to look myself in the mirror if I didn't congratulate someone I considered a friend on a momentous life occasion because that friend happens to disagree with me on something. Timothy is going to get blocked. Maybe you're another Mises person, maybe not, but you're actually, no, he just got put in timeout. That was an accident, maybe an act of God, who knows? But listen, like, for real, to say, I am a Christian and so I cannot congratulate you on something that was important to you. Okay. If that's the type of person you want to be, I just don't think that's a good example of Christianity. I don't think, Allie Beth, I don't think that you are a good example of Christ's love. I do not feel Christ's love wafting off of you right now. At all. In any way. What I see is you're using a friend to make money on the internet.
to love someone and to show them that you support them in certain ways while also staying true to your values and representing those values honestly. So I'm going to give 4 reasons why I could not congratulate Dave either publicly or privately, even though I like him a lot and think that he is a great person. I will also answer the question about how I feel about the company that distributes my podcast, Blaze TV, publicly sending a congratulations about this. Connected to that, let me just say, because I know there's always speculation about this kind of thing, Blaze TV has never told me what I can or can't say. I have almost 600 episodes of Relatable. Never once have they censored me. I feel totally free to speak my mind. They've always been that way. They've always supported their hosts in saying the things that they want to say. So, all of this said, I am going to give my theological reasons and my practical reasons for not being able to say congratulations. And for my theological reasons about why I believe what I do about marriage and surrogacy and all of that.
Allie Beth Stuckey is totally like one of these people that canceled me for my spiritual beliefs, but then went and said, well, my spiritual beliefs are just so important to me that I can't privately congratulate a friend. I would have so much more respect for people like this if they hadn't publicly canceled me for a spiritual belief that says God loves everyone unconditionally.
I'm not saying this because I expect Dave to align with him. Dave is not a Christian. I am hoping to, again, add clarity for my fellow Christians, give you food for thought. I hope the practical parts of this will make all of you think a little bit more deeply about some of the subjects that we'll be discussing. My first reason I can't give my congratulations is because I cannot celebrate that which God calls sin. And
okay, has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten lobster? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever caught a football? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten shrimp? Or any crustacean-like creature? Because we can play this game too. We can play this Bible game too. The Bible, Jesus damned a fig tree. Jesus damned a fig tree. Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten a fig Newton? Has she ever eaten a dessert with figs in it? Has she ever enjoyed a dessert with figs in it, or a food with figs in it, or like a goat cheese and like fig pizza or something like that? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever done that? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever worn clothes made out of different materials? Those are all sins, Allie Beth, according to your Bible. We can play this game too. But no, someone starting a family just goes a step too far for her fragile sensibilities.
In this particular situation, I am talking about the definition of marriage according to the Bible. I know there's a lot of debate about what the Bible really says about sexuality, but the fact of the matter is that scripture spells it out really clearly. Not only is homosexuality explicitly prohibited in scripture, as in Romans 1:26 through 27, that's just one example, but the Bible,
most of what is in the Bible in regards to homosexuality has to do with men leaving their wives to go and gallivant around with other men. That's what it has to do with. It has to do with men leaving their wives and their families to go gallivant around with other men. Dave and David are not doing that. So yes, there are different interpretations of the Bible. And you can have whatever crazy fucking like conservative interpretation you want, but to not congratulate a friend over a amazing life event, that's not Christ's love. Sorry. That's not Christ's love.
also
I wonder if Allie Beth, I think this is a great question, Natty. Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever lied? Do you think that Allie Beth Stuckey in every situation in her life has told the truth? Because lying's a pretty big sin, right? Lying's in like the top 10 of sins. You think she's ever lied? I bet she has. I bet she is the type of person that would lie to her girlfriend's face and then laugh about it after she left the room. That's the type of person I see her as. That's the vibe I get.
Positively defines marriage in one way, as between a man and a woman. I like to use an alliteration to help me remember why the definition of marriage is so important according to scripture. So here it is. The definition of marriage is between a man and a woman in the Bible is rooted in creation. It is reiterated throughout scripture. It's repeated by Jesus himself. It is representative of Christ in the church. And in that way, it is reflective of the gospel.
She hates gay people so much that she has an alliteration to remind her of these specific Bible passages that she uses to rationalize hating gay people. Just wrap our heads around that for a second. She cares about being able to identify the specific passages of the Bible that condone her hatred of gay people, that she has an alliteration that she has memorized to help her remember those passages. That's like next level goddamn gay hating right there. Gypsy Witch Production says, my interpretation of the Bible is that it was written by men with agendas. While there were also books in the Bible that weren't actually included in the Bible, of course. And if you look at the different books of the New Testament, in the different if you look at the New Testament in different versions of the Bible, which I've done, they say different things. There are many different ways to read the Bible. What we should be taking from the Bible, I believe, are sage life lessons, not reasons to hate people and not congratulate them on major life events.
Let me just go through those really quickly. It's rooted in creation. Genesis 1:27 says God made us in his image.
Yes, explain your gay hating alliteration.
Pretty straightforward. 2, it's reiterated.
Oh, wait, hang on. She breezed right through that. But let's actually go back and look at that. Let's look at what she had on the screen there, because I mean, hang on.
Of the gospel. So let me just go through those really quickly. It's rooted in creation. Genesis 1:27 says God made us in his image as.
Okay. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So what I believe, in my crazy woo-woo spiritual beliefs, is that there is masculine and feminine in everything. Every single one of us, regardless of the genitals that we have between our legs, every single one of us has masculine aspects and every single one of us has feminine aspects. You can actually visualize them. This is the symbol for masculine right here. This is the symbol for feminine. We all have both masculine, and you can imagine why that would be the symbol for masculine, right? We all have both masculine parts of ourselves and we all have feminine parts of ourselves, because life is about balance. It is a balance of both aspects. We all contain both aspects. That's how I read that, because I don't have some crazy Christian interpretation that I'm using an alliteration for to allow me to hate gay people. Ty Green says she's virtue signaling, line drawn with Rubin, but not with her support of Trump, a known adulterer and divorcee. She's literally had gay conversion therapists on her YouTube channel. No shame in her hypocrisy. I'm sure she's a deeply loving, caring woman that just wants Christ's love. She just wants everyone to experience Christ's love, even though she can't congratulate a friend on a major life event. Okay, moving on.
Male and female, pretty straightforward. 2, it's reiterated throughout scripture. One example of this, Exodus 20:12, says that we are to honor our father and our mother. Again, pretty specific.
Honor your father. Well, everyone does have a father and a mother, but you could also interpret that to mean the people who raised you. That your days may be long in the land of the Lord. Yeah, that's saying to honor the people who raised you, dude. Is Allie Beth insinuating that people who are adopted shouldn't honor the people who adopted them? Is Allie Beth Stuckey insinuating that people who grew up in foster homes, or maybe like how like a foster care system, were in the foster care system, shouldn't honor people who maybe went out of their way for them when they had no one else in their lives? Is that what's being said right now? Kind of sounds like it. Only the biological ones matter, not the people who actually like rear us. Okay.
Ephesians 6:2 in the New Testament says that this is the first commandment with a promise. So pretty important. And then 3, it's repeated by Jesus himself. A lot of people say Jesus never talked about marriage or sexuality or gender. That's not true. Matthew 19:4-5, in answering a question about divorce, Jesus goes back to creation. He says that God has created marriage as a union between husband and wife. And then 4.
Hang on. I actually want to see what she wrote, because she doesn't actually give enough time for people to actually read what she's got on the screen.
Representative of Christ in the church.
Hang on. We need to. Okay. He answered, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And he said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Okay. Jesus also damned a fig tree. That's in the Bible. Jesus damned a fig tree. Jesus did many things. Jesus helped a prostitute. Jesus did lots of things. Yeah, between one man and one woman, unless you get divorced, unless you have multiple partners like David. God.
Husband and wife. And then 4, it's representative of Christ in the church. Read Ephesians 5:22-33 to read what I'm talking about. It tells us that.
Okay, hang on. Pause, because she's going to go too fast. Therefore, a man shall leave his father. Oh, this is the same thing we already read. Leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. So it's an allegory. She's literally got it on the screen right there. This is an allegory. The Bible is filled with allegories. It's filled with wisdom. It is not meant to be a literal interpretation. This is the problem with all Christianity. Yeah, Celtic spirits covered. damned a fig tree because it didn't produce fruit. Just like man, don't produce fruit of the goddess. Context is confusing for people who never study the Bible. Are men to be damned when they are no longer fertile? I mean, I'm just saying. One early book of the Bible said marriage was a worldly thing and you had to be married to God. Exactly. There are many different interpretations.
Between a Christian husband and wife is actually an earthly picture of the eternal union between Christ, the groom, and his church, the bride. So that means that the definition of marriage between man and woman doesn't only have physical significance, but actually eternal significance. And then that leads to number 5. In this way, as it is representative of Christ in the church, it is also reflective of the gospel, the Bible, and therefore all of human history starts with a marriage between Adam and Eve and ends with a marriage between Christ, the groom, and his bride, the church.
Oh, wait. So you're saying that it's not literal? So you're saying that when you say marriage, it's not literal? Because the church is not a woman. The church is an entity. The church is an institution. If you're saying that Christ is married to the church, which is fine, it's fine, that's not a literal marriage. That is not, Christ being married to the church is not a marriage between a man and a woman. Allie Beth, you are literally contradicting your own argument in your own video. It is not a literal interpretation. That is entirely the goddamn point. Incognito says, and yet Jesus magically appeared in Mary's womb. Yes, that is one of the silly things that Christians believe, that Mary was a virgin. And we all believe I believe very weird things. I say all the time, I believe weird shit. Christians absolutely believe weird shit. We are all allowed to believe our weird shit, but you have to acknowledge that my weird shit isn't any weirder than your weird shit. We both have certain levels of weird stuff. Paul, who wrote the books that she quotes on homosexuality as well, he told us we shouldn't marry because God was coming back soon. If we did that, we all would not be here. I wonder if Allie Beth believes in marriage, even though Paul says that we shouldn't marry. Graphically Alex says, marriage does not have eternal significance in Christianity. She is literally wrong. Imagine my surprise. Imagine my surprise.
Far be it from us to change a definition that is so eternally weighty.
You literally just changed the definition in the previous sentence. Let me just rewind real quickly so we can hear this contradiction again, because she literally changes the definition mid-sentence. Allie Beth has led up to this being like, Jesus said that marriage is between a man and a woman. It's between a man and a woman, a man and a woman, a man and a woman. She said it like 4 times, and she even wrote a little analogy or a little freaking alliterative device to help her remember the specific passages from the Bible. Now let's listen again.
The gospel, the Bible, and therefore all of human history starts with a marriage between Adam and Eve and ends with a marriage between Christ, the groom, and his bride, the church.
The church is not a woman. If you want to take a literal interpretation of the Bible, fine, I guess. But then don't shift literally in the same sentence to a figurative interpretation of the Bible. The church is not a woman. The church is not a human being. The church does not have a gender. The church does not have a sexuality. If you're talking about the Bible starting with marriage with Adam and Eve, fine, that, I guess is between a man and a woman, but ends with a marriage between Christ and the church, that is literally saying that you are not interpreting it literally, Allie Beth.
Far be it from us to change a definition that is so eternally weighty. So I can't.
She literally changed the definition mid-sentence. She didn't change the definition. She changed the interpretation. Sorry. She literally changed the interpretation from a literal interpretation of the Bible with Adam and Eve to a figurative interpretation of the Bible with a marriage between Christ and the church. The church is not a real woman.
Celebrate that which God condemns. God is love. 1 John 4:8 tells us that. Therefore, he defines love. The world likes to define love as unconditional affirmation of everyone's choices, but God is love, and he says some things are wrong. So if God is love and he defines love, that means everything that he says is right or wrong. He says out of
Don't Christians say that you're supposed to love the sinner and not the sin? Isn't that a thing Christians say? You're supposed to love the sinner and not the sin? Isn't that something God would do? Wouldn't God love the sinner and not the sin? So you're telling me you love your friend Dave Rubin so much because you love the sinner and not the, or you love the sinner and not the sin. You don't have to like, what Dave does in bed, I suppose, fine. But you're saying you love the sinner so much that you couldn't congratulate them on starting a family? Okay, doesn't sound like Christ's love to me.
of love. Therefore, the most loving thing I can do is agree with God. And this is just kind of a sub point under point number 1. As a conservative, I think that we are supposed to be conserving the things that build strong, free, functioning, flourishing society.
Except for freedom of religion. Conservatives don't conserve freedom of religion. They don't care to conserve freedom of religion. They want everyone to be a conservative Christian. They want to conserve everything except the First Amendment when it comes to people who aren't Christian. Doesn't sound very conservative to me, but fine.
Societies. The foundation of that, whether you like it or not, is biblical morality. And the second layer is the family, the nuclear family. If you don't conserve those two things, you don't get any other tenet of conservatism.
I just want to note at this juncture that my spiritual belief system is older than Allie Beth's spiritual belief system. There are many elements that the Bible cribbed from my spiritual belief system. So we could actually argue that my spiritual belief system provided the foundations for this. And my spiritual belief system says that God's love is unconditional. That God does not love hot more than he loves cold. He does not love good more than he loves bad. God loves everyone by pure virtue of their existence because we all come from God. And if God didn't love us, then God wouldn't love himself. That's what I believe. And that is a belief system that her Bible cribbed elements of because it's older than her Bible.
We can be anti-woke, we can be anti-left-wing, we can be anti-postmodern nonsense together, but you can only get so far playing defense. You can only get so far saying what you are against. You can't win if you're not building, and you can't build without a foundation.
Is she actually arguing that conservatives have a platform of what they stand for? What do you stand for, Allie Beth? Because I have been asking conservatives for damn near 2 years now what their platform is, what type of world they want to build, what do they actually stand for, what is their vision, what do they support. I have yet to get any effing answer on any of these questions. I have yet to get an answer on any of these questions at all, even though I've been asking for 2 years. So what exactly is the thing that conservatives are trying to build? That's my question.
Christianity and the family are the foundation of the West. If you reject those two things, if you try to redefine
Christianity is the foundation of the West? Okay, let's listen to that again. Hang on. I was talking over it.
Christianity and the family are the foundation of the West.
No. Christianity is not the foundation of the West. I know Christians want to believe it is. But to be blunt, many of the people who founded America were not really practicing Christians in any significant way. That is just untrue. Now, One of the things that this country was founded on was religious freedom, as it turns out. And you could argue that the Puritans were Christian, fine, whatever, and the Puritans had their very rigid lifestyle, and they just wanted to be able to live their very rigid lifestyle. But the very first amendment to the fucking Constitution says freedom of religion. So don't tell me that Christianity is the foundation for any of this. Because the very first amendment of the Constitution says I can believe whatever the F I want.
If you reject those two things, if you try to redefine or dismantle those two things, everything else
You're the one redefining it, Allie Beth.
As a conservative will be gone too. I assure you that. Leah Thomas is currently competing against women in swimming, not because of a few crazy progressives, but because of conservatives who decided 10 years ago or more that they were going to see the most important battles on morality and sexuality. And if you don't believe me, unfortunately, all we got to do is wait and see. Number two, I believe that children have a fun.
To any conservative listening to this right now, if you follow people like this, you will never win another election again. If you really want to conserve things, if that is really your goal, I don't necessarily believe it is, because again, I don't even know what you stand for. I don't know what your party platform is. You haven't updated it in 10 years. If you follow people like this, you will never have any opportunity to conserve anything, because you will never win another election again. That is fact. I'm sorry. If conservatives do what I think they're going to do and they make abortion the central issue of every election moving forward instead of focusing on critical race theory where they should actually be focusing, they will never win another election again. If you want to conserve things, you need to win elections. If you want to win elections, you need to get votes. When you follow people like this that have no resemblance to the pure, beautiful love of Christ and what Christ actually preached, when you follow people like this, you make it impossible for people like me to vote for you. Because what you are telling me is that you will give into your inner authoritarians, just like we saw the left give into their inner authoritarians for the last 2 years. You're no different from the party I left. Therefore, you don't get my vote. If you don't get the votes of the people who are not Christian conservatives, you will never win another election again. I just don't know how much more clear I can be on this. This is a numbers game. Most people in the country are not Christian conservatives. And when Christian conservatives are demonstrating their Christianity and Christ's love as saying, I can't congratulate my friend on having kids. I can't do it publicly. I can't do it privately. It is just too much. You don't represent anything I want to be associated with.
Fundamental right to a mom and a dad. From a theological standpoint, not only do I want to honor God's created order, I am also against robbing a child of the opportunity to fulfill that first commandment with a promise: honor your father and mother.
Okay, hang on. Sam says pre-Christian Greek and Roman philosophy is the West. Yes. That is absolutely correct. So now Allie Beth's saying, oh, by Dave Rubin and his husband engaging a surrogate, they've robbed those children of their mother. These children would never have been born if Dave Rubin and his husband hadn't gone through surrogacy. They never would have been born. They never had that available to them anyway. And as someone who grew up with a less than loving mother, and again, no shade to my parents, because I think my parents tried the best they could. I really do. I think my parents are both very broken people. I think they tried the best they could. But as someone who grew up with parents who didn't really love her, I would take 2 loving fathers every day of the week over what I grew up with. Maybe Allie Beth didn't have that experience. Maybe Allie Beth had a perfect, idyllic childhood. But if you think that growing up with parents who don't really love you is a walk in the park because you've got a mother and a father, as opposed to 2 loving fathers who will take care of you and love you and support you and provide you with everything you need? I've got some news to share with this one. Smooney said, conservatives need to stop focusing on how kids are conceived or a family comes about and focus more on what kids are learning in school. I agree with that. AD says, trying to get away from the 12 tribes in Rutland was an experience. All right, let's keep going.
And I also see throughout scripture that fatherlessness is a category of vulnerability. And I think it's safe to say that robbing a child of their mother, creating mass motherlessness, which is really a historical phenomenon, qualifies as unbiblical as well. And
this is not mass motherlessness. This has nothing to do with the present situation. All of this is rationalization for why she can be a gay hater. That's all this is. This is not mass motherlessness. These are children that are going to have two loving parents. That's all that should matter.
On these 2 points, I have been enlightened by Katie Faust of Them Before Us, and I'm very thankful for her perspective on this. And then the more practical reason I believe that kids have a fundamental right to a mom and a dad is because decades of social science have told us that that is the ideal situation for kids to grow up and thrive.
Of course, those studies don't take into consideration how those children are treated by their biological mother and father. They don't take into consideration the nuances of the situation. They're looking at larger trends, which is fine and understandable. But to be quite frank, I don't know that there has been a large enough data set of what happens when you have children raised in households with two gay parents. What happens to those children? Because this hasn't really been going on that long, so I don't know that there is actually a large enough data set to even compare the two. What she's probably comparing is parents that were raised in a one-parent household to parents raised in a two-parent household. That's all fine, well, and good. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, are there any studies that compare the outcomes of children raised in two-parent households when those two parents are gay and two-parent households when those parents are straight? Have there been any studies comparing the two? Because I would strongly doubt that there has even been a critical mass of people to allow those studies to occur. So she's making assumptions based on the difference between one-parent households and two-parent households. Those are not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Gypsy Whiz Productions also brings up a great point. So in my belief system, as you know, I believe that people make choices before they are born in spirit form, pre-planning and soul contracts, or those children wouldn't be born. What I believe, since we're talking about beliefs and we're all allowed to have our own beliefs, is that those children made an agreement with Dave and David when all of them were spiritual beings before Dave and David were even born, when they're all spiritual beings floating around in the sky, that Dave and David would be their parents. That's what I believe. I believe it was an agreement before they were born. I believe we all choose our parents, by the way. I believe that we choose our parents. I believe we choose the location in which we were born for different reasons, because we need to learn different lessons in life. Justin says, before you remove the splinter from your neighbor's eye, remove the splinter from thine one. Paraphrasing, aka, mind your own business, Allie Beth. Also, he who is without sin should cast the first stone. Excuse me, it's the rafter from your own. I gotcha.
Let me read you a finding from the University of Virginia that is reflective of the decades of social science before this kind of research was considered taboo and politically incorrect. Quote, the intact biological married family remains the gold standard for family life in the United States.
Okay, where is this from? UVA's National Marriage Project. So that was probably a biased study to begin with. Allie Beth has not told us anything about the study. She hasn't told us what the research questions were. She hasn't told us what the inclusion-exclusion criteria is. She hasn't told us the methodology for the study. She hasn't actually told us anything about the study at all that would allow the study to achieve this outcome of the intact biological married family remains the gold standard for family life in the United States. So let's just give her the benefit of the doubt. which I'm not necessarily inclined to do because I can tell based on where the study came out that it was probably a biased study to begin with. But let's just say she's telling the truth. Dave and David are married. They are married. It is an intact, biological, married family. This sentence could be describing their family. But she hasn't given us any other information about the study, so I don't exactly know why we should trust one sentence pulled out of a much larger context. But even if it was, they're a family.
States. That's because this model provides best what children need emotionally, mentally, psychologically, again, in order to thrive throughout their lives. That doesn't mean that there are not exceptions. The reality is there are a lot of bad biological.
How exactly are Dave and David not an intact biological family? How are they not? Those kids are going to have DNA from them. Those kids are their biological kids in real life. Those kids are also going to be related to each other. So they are related that way. How is it even fathomable that two married men in a long-term committed relationship with having children that are biologically theirs and biologically related, how is that not an intact biological family? It literally meets all the conditions, Allie Beth. You owned yourself there.
Parents out there. Of course, that is true. But we are talking about the ideal setup based on decades of data. And it's one thing when a child falls into a scenario where this isn't possible, where the family isn't intact. And adoption is a beautiful, redemptive option that I am very supportive of. It's another thing to
wait. So again, someone mentioned earlier, and this is a really, I think it was Ty maybe. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat that the only difference between adoption and surrogacy is that there's a middleman involved. They're functionally the same. They're functionally exactly the same. But Allie Beth has no problem with adoption and all problems with surrogacy. Be honest, she probably did this to calm down her audience. What are the odds that she was this clueless about Dave and David's plans to do this? The odds are nil. Dave has been talking about this for like 2 years. She knew they were married years ago, and Ruben wrote about fatherhood in his book. There is literally zero chance that Allie Beth Stuckey did not know that this was coming. There was zero chance of that happening. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it.
Intentionally create a child to rob them of the opportunity to have a mother or a father, to take away their opportunity to have the setup that we know.
No one has taken anything away from these children because these children would never have been born if it wasn't for this surrogacy. They never would have been born. You could actually make the argument with adoption. You could make the argument that adoption is robbing the child of the ability to have a relationship with their mother. You could actually make that argument. The child is born to their biological mother and then taken from the arms of their biological mother. Now, I don't have anything against adoption. I really don't. But that's more, adoption is more robbing the child of their biological mother than surrogacy is, because those children would never exist without the surrogacy. Adoption is a different thing.
Is most ideal for their well-being. Children deserve to know whose they are, from where they come, and intentionally prohibiting them from doing that, in my opinion, is wrong.
Then why do you support adoption? Because it is exactly the same thing. So she's a hypocrite. I know I'm shocked.
Number 3, this goes with number 2.
I'm so glad I never talked to her.
Children are not social experiments. Every single person on the planet right now, every single person that has ever lived throughout human history has a biological mom and dad. Across time and cultures, this has been the family. It takes an insane amount of hubris for us to think today that we can completely rearrange the family and that it would have no consequences, especially.
How old is she? Can someone Google for me and find out how old she is? Because she, to me, quite frankly, comes across as incredibly young, incredibly low life experience, and incredibly naive. Can someone Google how old she is for me? I would appreciate it.
Especially for the most vulnerable party, which is children. We have no idea the extent of the long-term repercussions of intentionally taking a child away from their biological mom or dad.
Then why do you support adoption? Then why do you... She's not 45. No. AD, you're giving me different... I no longer believe AD. AD is making things up. No, for real. I do want to know how old she is. There's no way she's 45. Come on. Okay, if you don't support taking children away from their biological parents, then you don't support adoption. Like, that's just... I mean, my God. Okay. She's 30? Yeah, she acts 30. She did. Allie Beth, I was dumb when I was 32. I was dumb and naive when I was 30 years old too, girl. I was still a Democrat when I was 30. You got a lot of growing to do.
Especially in the case of two men hiring a surrogate where you are buying eggs from one woman, you are renting the womb of another woman, and then you are taking
I also thought I knew everything when I was 32, so I understand that.
the child away from both the biological mom and the woman who...
The biological mother would never have had the child. Like, I don't know why, how can she... Yeah, AD, I knew you were trolling. All good. All good. How can she not rationalize this? She is completely supportive of taking an adoptive child away from their biological parent, but she's not in favor of a child that never would have existed otherwise going through surrogacy. That makes no sense.
Who has carried that. I don't think we've even begun to see the potential impact of that. We know that children in the womb can be affected by the trauma and the stress that is experienced by the woman who is carrying the child. We know as moms the psychological and physiological importance of bonding after birth, of skin to skin, of eye contact. We are told this throughout our pregnancy, and yet we suspend the knowledge that we have when it comes to two men creating a child and taking them away from the surrogate because it's politically incorrect.
So you seem to also suspend that judgment when it comes to adoption because you're taking a biological child away from their biological parents. You're literally not applying your standards that you just said mere minutes before. Allie Beth, you don't even need a lot of recall in order to remember what you said a couple of minutes before. Adoption is a wonderful and beautiful thing, but not surrogacy, where you're removing a child from their biological parents. But it's totally fine to remove a biological child from their parents when it comes to adoption. Adoption is beautiful, but not surrogacy for those evil gay men who are stealing babies from their biological mother. Dude, like, you're contradicting yourself literally without taking a breath. And this is like the third time you've done it in this video. I mean, maybe a little extra editing on your script? I don't know, dude. Like, get a producer or something, because someone should be calling out these raging inconsistencies. Sam says, each child is going home with their biological dad. That is exactly right. No child in this scenario is being robbed of their biological parents.
Too many people are too scared to even ask these questions because they don't want to be called homophobic. And they're actually so scared of being called a name that even if you could prove to them that this was harmful to children, it wouldn't matter. They care.
If Allie Beth could have proved that surrogacy was harmful to children, then she would have had a study proving that surrogacy was harmful to children. Do you know how we know that she didn't have that study? Because she cited a study from like the 1980s that said that children are better raised in a biologically intact family, which these children will be, as a reminder. But if she had any study at all that said that surrogacy was psychologically damaging to children, she would have cited it. She didn't cite it because she didn't have it. Why doesn't she have it? Surrogacy has been around a while. I would imagine this has been studied somewhere, somehow. So if Allie Beth is so convinced that the evidence is just overwhelming that surrogacy is damaging to the children it produces, then where's the study, Allie Beth? You've already cited one study. Why aren't you citing this one?
They're more about just going along with the next cultural trend. Then the fourth reason is I am morally opposed to the commercialized surrogacy industry. And I'm not talking about necessarily the woman who...
Wait. So surely, in the section of this video that is about her heartfelt opposition to the commercial surrogacy industry, surely Allie Beth will be able to produce but one study that says that surrogacy is bad for children. Surely there will be just one study that proves that surrogacy is bad. Let's see.
The child of her sister who has cancer. I think that that's probably a separate ethical conversation to have. I am talking mostly about the commercialized surrogacy industry that both here and abroad is in general very corrupt. It is essentially the commodification and the objectification of both women and children. Yeah.
Do women make a choice to participate in that market? Has any woman ever been forced at gunpoint to be a surrogate or to donate their eggs? Or was it a choice? Was it a choice that they made that they were compensated for, and they must have deemed that they were fairly compensated for it because they did it, they took the deal? So does Allie Beth, let me ask you a question, because I don't watch this person at all. Does she support capitalism? Does Allie Beth support capitalism? Just curious. I'm sure she doesn't support prostitution. I think that probably goes without saying. I'm sure she's barely had sex in her life. Firestarter says, this all goes out the window for children of... Yep, that's exactly right, Firestarter. That is exactly right. Everything that she's saying now will go poof when it comes to the abortion argument, in which Allie Beth has said to me personally on Twitter that she supports women who have been assaulted being forced to have the children of their assailants. She supports that. That's not dehumanizing to women. But surrogacy, in which women are opting into it, that's different? Okay. Seems a little contradictory to me, but all right.
Yes, women are consenting to it. But in poor countries around the world and in poor areas here, a lot of women, they're first recruited and then they feel pressure because it's good money and they're not always presented with all of the potential risks. Surrogacy is a high risk pregnancy. The body is carrying a child that it didn't actually create.
Did Dave and David use a surrogate from a third world country that I don't know about? Because that just popped up into her argument out of nowhere. She was like, yes, women choose to be surrogates, but in third world countries, they're exploited. Did Dave and David use a surrogate from a third world country? I mean, no shade on them if they did, but I suspect they didn't. I suspect that's not the case. I'm just saying.
Create. That's why a very high number of them end in miscarriage or in premature delivery. Now, who is that fair to? Is it fair to the child who suffers or dies? Is it fair to the woman who is then left?
Is she making the argument that because a pregnancy might end in a miscarriage, that's not a reason to do it? I know women who have had multiple miscarriages. I know women who their doctors, they had so many miscarriages that their doctors told them that a pregnancy to term was going to be a near impossible feat. Should those women have not tried to have a family with their husband? I know a woman who had, excuse me, I know a woman who had 3 miscarriages before she finally had her kid and has 2 of them now. Should that woman, because she had so many miscarriages, have not even tried because it would be unfair to the potentially miscarried child to try? That doesn't make any sense.
to endure the physical, mental, emotional trauma of those experiences, women's wombs should not be for rent by rich strangers. And consent doesn't automatically make that okay. Consent is not the only factor that you consider when you are judging whether or not something is moral or ethical.
So what Allie Beth is saying right here is that she wants to be able to make decisions for other women. Allie Beth Stuckey thinks that she should be personally responsible for making choices for other women, regardless of whether they follow her spiritual beliefs or not. That's literally what she's saying. Just because you consent to something doesn't mean you should. She wants to be the decider. That is an authoritarian right there. Authoritarianism can exist on the right just as it can on the left. That's an authoritarian. Anyone who says just because you can consent to something doesn't really mean you should be given the choice. And we should be making the choice based on my standards, not your standards. What she's really saying is women who make the choice to be surrogates are not autonomous human beings that are capable of making their own decisions. She wants these women to be slaves to whatever Allie Beth tells them is okay.
So let's have some common sense, some thoughtfulness,
Common sense, indeed.
Compassion
Indeed.
toward all the parties who are involved
compassion.
in these situations.
Oh.
And conservatives talk a lot about the erasure of women because of the transgender movement, using terms like pregnant people or birthing people. I mentioned Leah Thomas earlier, taking records and titles and spots away from women. Conservatives are really angry about this because this is erasing women. Well, look, two men buying eggs and then renting a uterus is also the erasure of women. You're basically saying that men and women, moms and dads, are totally interchangeable and that we can just buy and rent women's bodies and then they could be moved out of the picture and it's fine. I'm sorry, I don't think that's fine. As Christians, I don't think we should be.
So then why do you support adoption? Because it's the exact fucking same thing.
Celebrating the disruption of God's created order, especially when the consequences of this disruption rest on innocent children. As conservatives, in my opinion, we are supposed to be conserving some of the most fundamental parts of a free and functioning civilization, one of which is the nuclear family. As people, I think that we should have compassion for all of the parties involved in these situations. And if you want to know more about the surrogacy industry, I have linked to episodes that I've done in the past with a woman named Jennifer Law, where we talk about a lot of this. Now, do I care that Blaze TV, the company that distributes my podcast, tweeted out a congratulations that seemed to be representative of the company as a whole? I definitely disagreed with that decision. And that's really all I'll say about that. I'm thankful that I'm allowed to voice my disagreement however and whenever I want to. So
not only does Allie Beth not want to offer congratulations to someone she calls a friend, she also wants to prevent other people who give her a platform, from offering their congratulations as well. Okay, I know she didn't say she wanted to force them. She's just like, I disagree. I actually really like the Blaze. I know people have their opinions about the Blaze. I actually really like the Blaze on the whole. I think I really like the leadership of the Blaze. I like Glenn Beck, even though he might disagree on this issue, but I think he's handled it in a positive way. I like many of the people on the Blaze. And so I am glad that they did not take 30-year-old Allie Beth's advice and did the right thing and offered congratulations to one of their hosts, who I think is probably more successful than Allie Beth. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It shouldn't honestly even really matter. If we're being blunt about it, it shouldn't matter who's more successful, but I'm going to guess it's Dave.
Am I trying to balance? How do we balance loving someone who makes the decision that we really fundamentally, morally, even theologically disagree with? Well, I think that we talk to them. We continue to show up for them. We support them in the ways that we can, as long as that is not us affirming something that God calls sin. They are made in the image of God. Their children are made in the image.
If anyone ever sees Allie Beth at a restaurant or something eating some form of shellfish, please take a picture of that for me. If anyone ever learns, Allie Beth right now seems to be wearing clothes of 2 different types of cloth. I don't know. Why would Allie Beth do that in a video in which she's not affirming sin? I just don't understand. How could she be such a sinner on video when she's not trying to affirm sin?
Image of God, and therefore they have amazing value and worth just like the rest of us. And so we pray for them. We help them in whatever tangible ways we can. We are kind to them.
But you don't congratulate them. No, you're not kind to them. You're a judgmental
That's my
bitch.
goal. I know that, this will still make some people angry. I am trying to be as gracious as I possibly can without compromising at all on the truth. And a lot of you were sincerely asking for clarity on this, and I wanted to give it. So I hope this helps.
That seems, I don't know if there's an ad or something that there's going, but hang on. We'll see. We'll see if there's anything after the ad. I do actually have some other stuff. In the meantime, Ego Brain has apparently been perusing the study that Allie Beth has claimed supported her, and apparently it doesn't actually support her. I know I am shocked that Allie Beth would deliberately misinterpret a study. Okay, that is actually it. I know I am shocked personally that Allie Beth would deliberately misinterpret a study that she claimed supported her, and it turns out it does not actually support her. So no, I didn't find anything about this argument compelling at all. Are you actually making the argument that I'm canceling her? You're gonna get a timeout. Timeout for you. So no, nothing that Allie Beth said in that video convinced me at all in any way that she is correct. I don't know. Did it convince any of you? I would like to know your thoughts in the chat. Meanwhile, let me know. Let me chat it in what you thought about Allie Beth's arguments. I would love to see them. Just saying hi to people over on Odyssey. Looks like we've got Build Back Reader over on there. Oh yeah, dude, I definitely agree with your assessment of Allie Beth. I'll tell you that. We got some folks chiming in on Rockfin. We've got some folks over on Rumble, I think, and even on Gitter today, which is pretty rad. But guys, what did you think of her arguments? Because to me, they seem to completely contradict each other mid-sentence. There was nothing other than like the typical, honestly, Christian stuff that I've heard over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, all throughout the time. Like I was paying attention to this stuff in the 90s. Let's see what you had to say. Justin says, I found the doublethink amusing. No, we're not flirting with cancellation at all. I'm offering an opinion. I do not want Allie Beth deplatformed. I don't even want, I'm going to make this very clear. I don't want any of you forming any sort of cancel mob to go after her. I don't want any mean tweets. I don't want anyone calling for her cancellation. I don't want anyone attacking her. I am offering an opinion right now on my channel that people can choose to watch and engage in or not. No one is forcing anyone to watch anything. I'm offering an opinion and telling everyone, do not go after her. She's allowed to have her opinion, as stupid as I think it is, but she's allowed to have it. Brent says, narrow-minded pandering. I would agree with that. Jared says, women are kind of supposed to be subservient in all ways, basically, and be given permission to speak. Did she get that permission from her husband to speak? I wonder if she did. I wonder if Allie Beth got permission from her husband for that. Sin says she comes across as very naive. I agree with that. She comes across as her age. I'll tell you that. Sam says, arguments were internally inconsistent and logically flawed. Yes. Oh, Ego Brain found a study about specifically about gay parents. Here it is. This one is called Same-Sex and Different-Sex Parent Households and Children and Child Health Outcomes, finding from the National Survey of Child's Health. And it is specifically about gay parents, and there's no negative outcome. I wonder why Allie Beth didn't include that in her video. I wonder why. Steve says, Allie Beth's argument is an embarrassment to anyone claiming to be a conservative. Jared said it was vapid. Phoenix Eclipse says the study that was referenced is from 2016. The one she used was older, from the 80s. That's exactly correct. The mental gymnastics were impressive. I agree. Listen, I heard so many good things about this video. I was really actually open to there being decent arguments in this video. But there weren't. There were no decent arguments at all. It was just conservative Christian pandering. I think it's so sad. I wanted more from her. I really did. I was really hoping. I was like, maybe she has some rationalization for not congratulating someone who she says is a friend that I just haven't thought of. Nope. No, she didn't. She didn't at all. All right, guys. Well, that's all I've got for this time. This stream went extra long today, 2.5 hours. Jesus Christ. I got to go eat some food. But guys, if you enjoyed the stream today, I do this every day at 5, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke. On Saturdays, I rest. I will be back tomorrow on the channel at 5. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you can tune in a little early. I do post the stream earlier to see what the topics of the day are, but I do like to wait to see what's going on to decide what I want to talk about. If you want to support the work I'm doing and get access to some amazing perks, like the 2 community Zoom calls that I do every single week, like the book club that is happening this weekend, and it is not too late to join, you're going to want to become a member of my Locals community. Locals is the best place on the internet. You can join for $5 a month. You can join for a limited time only for $45 for the year, which gives you 3 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. I greatly appreciate all the support I get. Guys, I will be back at 5 o'clock tomorrow. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Take care, and we'll see you soon.